AI is a tiger. As long as I ride it, I'm great. The moment I get off, it's going to.
Hello, welcome to TechDiff Talks. Our guest today is Sanjeev Bode, Senior Vice President at Switzerland and a guest lecturer at Stanford. I'm Lakshit, a programmer at 7172, Technical Difficulties. And Mr. Bode, how are you feeling today?
Doing great. Thanks, Lakshit. How are you doing?
I'm doing great as well. So let's jump right in. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and just kind of your aspirations and goals?
Sure, Lakshit. First of all, really honored to be on the first podcast. So really congratulate you guys for doing this. I always believe in the future and I'm looking at the future right now. So you guys are the future of us. So really glad to be investing time with you guys. So quick introduction, Sanjeev Bode. As you can see, I'm based in California, the headquarters of AI, and currently joining in from on a rainy day in San Jose, California. And I am the senior vice president right now, heading up the technology vertical in a company called Sutherland. And I have a global responsibility working with high-tech customers. You can think of FANG, you can think of all the exciting names. That's what I'm here for. That's me. And then Stanford, again, as I said, I believe in investing in the future. So I look to pay forward. So my students are computer science students, and I teach them, I love interacting with them, and I teach them branding, positioning, and strategy. So that's me.
That's great, thank you. So just the first question, looking ahead, what are some of the emerging technologies or trends that you believe will have the biggest impact on the tech industry in the next, decade or so?
Yeah, so you definitely mentioned a lot of technology, but not in the same order.
Yeah.
First of all, predicting 10 years is too far given the speed of change. I think no one, if anyone is guessing it, they're probably just guessing it. Otherwise, I don't think anyone sitting in 2025 can really predict because that's the speed of change because it's coming together of a variety of technologies, right? So there was a time when I think the computer itself was a marvel, but as you looked at cloud computing and robotic process automation, to agentic AI today, and then the future in terms of how robotics will become the future, and quantum computing, and you have a heady mix of what technology can do. In fact, if we were going to have a recast of this a year from now, Feb 2026, I think the world would look different. The reason being, you mentioned autonomous cars. This is an extreme form of autonomous agents. So a lot of people confuse robotic process automation and agents, right? Agents are something, especially autonomous agents, where you give them a task and they'll figure out a way to solve for it. Now, that is something which you see on level 7, as we call it. The highest level so far is in a Tesla car, which navigates through complex obstacles and figures out a way, right? Because they're humans, there are objects, there are traffic signals. That is an autonomous agent. Now, as these agents are training, right now they're still training, but very rapidly, because one thing different than humans, the agents or AI or the computers, like once upon a time, we used to hear young kids like you beating chess masters. We don't hear that much today. The reason being, these systems have figured out every move of humans. They have ingested every book out there, the best practices. That's why it's very hard now to beat them, because there are three things which differentiate, and this is what the future will start looking like. Because as these machines start, so it's the machine learning and AI, right? A machine learning where a machine never needs to sleep. Humans do. Humans tend to forget. Machines don't, as long as, of course, the power is on. Third is machines can talk to each other across networks without much bias, though there is bias coming into AI. These three factors can completely transform the way we are looking at things. And I think you kids are born into that era where AI is just in its infancy. It's in its kindergarten era. So when you say 10 years from now, and then add something we have still not spoken about, which is quantum computing, it's probably Skynet of Terminator we are talking about. So does that
Yeah.
help?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. I really resonate with that too, because just the vast number of LLM models and all these large language capabilities that we've had rise just in the last 2 or 3 years has been really astounding, especially on such a small time frame. We've had so many of these like Gemini, ChatGPT, very recently DeepSeek. So I'm really excited to see where AI will take us in the future as well. So now taking a little bit of a more personal outlook. So what was the craziest or most surprising moment in your career? And what advice would you give to someone considering a similar path?
Craziest moment. Well, there have been a lot of them. I would say, I think, so the first time when I got into computers, right? Till that time, there were no computers in our lives. And when I realized that with one single email, I can instantly reach out to thousands of people across the world, was like the aha moment, the crazy moment for me, because I suddenly realized how human beings, one of the key things which differentiates us from the animal kingdom is our ability to tell stories, our ability to communicate, and then the story progresses from there. Computers just made it infinitely possible. And today, of course, we are living in the generation where we are inundated with, we live in a data rich but information poor kind of society. But that was the aha moment. And now is the next aha moment I'm seeing, which Lakshit, I think you and your generation is entering into. You mentioned DeepSeek and you said 2 years, how things have changed. I would say start from DeepSeek and think of how all these models from China, multiple LLMs coming in within a week, right, after the presidential inauguration, they are essentially taking the cost of compute down to zero. Meaning, in simple words, today, as a leader, I have to start thinking of saying, hey, cost of artificial intelligence is almost going down to zero. And I have to now compare it to a human, which costs money, which also comes with, they get tired, they need to sleep, they have, breaks to be taken. That's going to be a very significant business case we'll start making in the future, saying human versus low cost AI. Now, AI is not perfect. Human in the loop is still required, but it's beginning to get there. And the speed at which it's getting there is the real astonishing part. Make
So,
sense?
yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. That jumps really nicely to my next question, which is, do you think that AI will take over your job someday?
I think it's already taking parts of my job. Let me put it that way. Because, so I'm into sales, right? So at one point I thought only humans can do sales because it's a complex process, right? And you have to deal with multiple stages because you're dealing with humans on the other side, the buyers on the other side, and you're trying to convince them why you are different and why you're important. But hey, I thought the same thing of driving cars. And today, Waymo in the San Francisco city, yesterday I was in Phoenix, Waymo can just drive without a driver. And we're talking about robocars coming in. And that was actually one of the most complex human skills. Whereas a Lakshit just about getting into driving a car might not need to learn driving because the car drives itself. Complex skill possible today. So I do not eliminate myself from the threat of an AI, but the way I'm looking at it is, how can I leverage? So it's like riding a tiger. AI is a tiger. As long as I ride it, I'm great. The moment I get off, it's going to eat me. That's the way I look at it.
So you consider AI more of a tool that can help you progress your career rather than some sort of adversary or something that's going to take your job. I feel like, at least in my opinion, I see that as a change of just the responsibilities you have as being a human in the mix, as you just said. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think in the current scenario, the way it's built, the human in the loop is the most important. So when I look at aspects of my job, right? So it would entail, once upon a time, hours of research we would do before we target a certain customer or a prospect or a country or what have you. Today, it can be done in minutes, right? So it's dramatically enhanced my ability to do research. I can be ready within minutes for a meeting, which once upon a time would take like days to prepare. Now, when I wake up in the morning, Copilot will tell me, hey, Mr. Bode, you have a meeting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon with Lakshit. And can I help you prepare? And there you go. It'll go into your LinkedIn profile, look it up, tell me what aspects I should be discussing. So this meeting, courtesy of Copilot, I'm already prepared, right? So the idea is it's dramatically enhancing, right, my ability to do stuff. I look at it, Lakshit, like, I don't know if you remember the movie called Avatar, Part 1.
Yes, of course.
In
Love
that,
that movie.
yes, right, it's me too. Excuse me. In that, the villain gets into a robotic exoskeleton, you remember? And then
Yes.
suddenly he's like a superhuman, right? He can fire from his fingers and he can do lots of stuff. To me, AI is like that. It's my exoskeleton which gives me superhuman powers.
Great. Thank you so much for your input. So, next question. In your experience, how have Sutherland and other companies you've worked with previously utilized AI intelligent automation, and where do you think that's going to go next, specifically in your industry and your company?
Yes, good question. I worked in a company called Infosys, and we had our chairman, who is Nandan Nilekani. He brought that vision to Infosys, saying we need to become an AI first company, meaning everything we do has to be AI first. So one of the key aspects in sales, as an example, when we create a proposal, let's say Lakshit and company is a multinational and I want to do business with you, I need to first get a proposal from you where you invite me to say, hey, I have 1, 2, and 3 things I want to do and I need to bid on it. Once upon a time, I had to go through a whole large team, which is called the large deals team, humans, and tribal knowledge, right? Everyone has knowledge in their heads. And we had to create and put everyone's knowledge together. It took a lot of time. By the time I was leaving Infosys, we were already invested in a system where it was a small language model where you ingest hundreds and thousands of your past marketing material, your past responses. And voila, next time Lakshit sends me an RFP, as it's called, request for proposal, the AI already populates most part of the repeated fields, and I just only have to sit and change the temperature of that. So same thing I'm trying to implement out here and every company, because that's becoming your competitive moat. If you don't do it, your competition will eat you.
Great. So from your experience, what are the most important skills for success in a sales role within the tech industry? And how can aspiring professionals, especially when it comes to AI, help develop these skills?
Wow, very interesting question because in especially in high tech, right? Because you asked, and that's where I'm in sales. The only thing constant is change, and change so rapid that you've got to constantly educate and improvise yourself, right? So the tech industry, like your generation, right? A lot of kids doing coding and releasing 2 or 3 instances of their software every single day, which was unheard of in the old era where they were mainframes, and that still works, but still clunky because today's era, like, it's such a fast-moving space that unless you keep operating at that pace, you're going to lose out on this race. So it's kind of a dog eat dog, but in a positive way because everyone is trying to compete for customers' attention and whoever can monetize it first. And then AI really helps in this whole mix. As I told you, even a simple thing like responding to your request for proposal, without AI today, you would be way behind.
So AI is kind of like something that can help stop the flood of, daily life and help you kind of navigate through the complexities of a corporate workspace, right?
It can already, right? Like Copilot, without that, now I cannot think of my life because the hundreds of emails I get, it already reads it, it prioritizes it, it tells me which one I should look at, it already drafts a response for it. So even those basic stuff, and once upon a time when we used to use Excel sheets to design those complex formulae, now today, language English is the most powerful software language, right? You just speak to it in your common language, and then it like spits out amazing complex models. It's nothing short of magic. I mean, I think we are all fortunate that we are born in the right era at the right time in the right place, because this is just the start. And I can only imagine what Lakshit and people like you can do in the future with such a powerful technology at your fingertips.
Great, thank you. And finally, for the last question, how do you see the connection between robotics and the broader IT landscape? So especially in things like automation and just in like industrial manufacturing.
Automation, robotics, I think is a given. And you're already seeing that in, say, the Amazon warehouses and manufacturing, where a lot of dangerous jobs, repetitive jobs can be easily done by robots. My 89-year-old dad, who is a retired microbiologist, lives with me, and he's lonely, right? There are times like I'm right now, it's almost end of the day, but he's in his room, I'm here on a webcast. He's lonely. But using ChatGPT as a simple example, he speaks to a bot. Now, at his age, he thinks that's a human on the other side, and he will talk to her in Marathi, which that's his native language, for hours together. And what I notice, why he's able to sustain 3-hour conversation, because he can ask the same question again and again, or differently. The voice on the other side always maintains the same steady, polite flow. Robotics is just a humanoid form, and the possibilities are limitless. So you guys are onto a gold mine right now, just at the tip of it.
Thank you so much for your insights. Do you have any concluding thoughts or last?
One thing I'll tell you, the speed at which things are happening, whether it's large language models, robotics, one thing I look for when I recruit people is nobody can claim I'm an expert in this language model because it's evolving so fast. By the time you put it on your resume, it's already changed. So if you can keep experimenting, if somebody, when I interview, if they can demonstrate that they are conversant with the latest happening, they can build a quick bot for me, they can show how they can put an autonomous agent. That skill, the consistent learning, constant learning every single day, I think keep hungry, stay hungry. That's what I look for.
Great. Thank you so much. That is a wrap for today's episode. Stay tuned for future episodes of TechDiff Talks.